Hello and Assalamu alaikum. I'm Pervez Khan. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, Kuhat University of Science and Technology. The subject is National and International Affairs. The course code is JMC-341. It's our lecture number 8. The topic is Challenges Ahead of Pakistan. We'll be discussing various challenges confronted by Pakistan and we'll be discussing it in historical context. So, the objectives. Why are we talking about it first? Because the students, when attend this session, they will be able to understand various challenges ahead of Pakistan, and it will give them historical context with present-day scenario, and along with that, they will be able to analyze regional contemporary issues with a lot of depth. So this is what the objectives of the class are, that when they attend, they'll be able to understand various challenges. They'll be able to talk about the historical context and they'll be able to compare it with present day scenario and analyze regional contemporary issues with a lot of depth. So the first challenge confronted by Pakistan is economic these days. Yes, we know, we are talking about it. It's all in the press. It's all in the discussions that Pakistan is currently facing a lot of serious economic crisis. So we have seen that there's been a decline in economic growth when we compare it to 2018 and 2019. Partly it's also because of the global pandemic and the entire world is facing economic crisis. But Pakistan had indicators that they were already going towards decline before the pandemic came. So there are serious issues, serious challenges that are ahead of Pakistan, especially when it comes to economic terms, and it affects the entire way of life and different perspectives and everything depends on economics in the country. So we have seen that in this year that there have been insufficient revenue generation, the high fiscal deficit exports and over the last 5 years, exports have declined by $4 billion while imports have increased by $8 billion. So it shows that our own exports have declined, but we don't have much. We are not sending much. The economy is not in the running. The economy chain of money is not there. So what is causing is that our reliance is more on the imports, and our imports have increased. So this is a bit of serious concern, because when your own industries are not working, when your own economy is not working, your dependency on foreign imports increases, and that also causes economic crisis. So we have seen that the markets are shrinking, the industrial sector is already paralyzed. So there can be a number of factors. It can be taxation, it can be policies, poor policies. There can be a number of reasons, because if the industries are not working, if the industries are not generating money, it creates a lot of seriousness and rigidness when it comes to economy. So policies and small businesses, entrepreneurship, all these small elements contribute towards economy, which is not there. So this economy remains one of the serious challenges which Pakistan faces at the moment. Uh, and talking about GDP rates, that we've seen that GDP rate has declined from 5.5 and approximately is going towards a negative mark, which is also predicted by IMF and World Bank. And presently, the pandemic and the COVID-19 situation also contributed seriously, which has caused more problems. We can see that the total public debt of Pakistan increased 7.6% in the first 9 months of the current fiscal year, compared to the last year, which is revealed by the Economic Survey of Pakistan 2019 and 20. And the total public debt was recorded at 35,207 billion at the end of the March 2020, compared with 32,708 billion at the end of June 2019. So you can clearly see that the debt is increasing. So when the debt is increasing, the economy shrinks, opportunities goes away. You don't see growth in the developmental sectors. Development budgets are cut off, and this has ripple effects on different sectors, especially development, literacy, education, higher education, employment. All these are connected to economy. So one of the serious challenges that Pakistan faces is economics, because if economy is not working, no matter what you say, what you claim, it's not going to work. Economy is the backbone for any country, and without economy, development cannot take place. So Pakistan will definitely be looking forward to find ways and means, and especially to get away with these current circumstances, which have put a lot of pressure on Pakistan to deal with economic crisis. The second issue that we're going to talk about is literacy rate. Pakistan has already shown signs of improvement, but once again, uh, the pandemic has strongly affected the education because schools, colleges, and universities have been closed. So the figures are quite different, which will be for the coming year. But for the moment, there was a little bit of growth compared to the last 2 3 years. But still, what we have seen is that there are some rural challenges, especially the places, far-flung areas, access to education, access to internet, access to all these things are connected. And especially what we are seeing is that most of the schools in far-flung areas, the quality of education is a problem again, because when you don't have a lot to spend on the quality, on the books, on the curriculums, and extracurricular activities, we know what happens. Especially, there's a class difference in Pakistan because the private sector education, we have seen that they focus a lot on different curriculums, and they have a lot more resources, in fact. And similarly, the schools in far-flung areas, they're deprived, they don't have many facilities, they don't have budgets. So obviously, quality of education is compromised. We all know that the education in far-flung areas may not be adequate with some of the urban cities. So that also is a challenge for Pakistan because in some way it's causing a class difference. In some way, the English-speaking generation takes an edge over the rural people with less strong linguistic skills. So obviously, it's problematic in a number of ways. So schooling and then higher education, obviously, all these things matter a lot if Pakistan is looking for it to tackle its challenges. Then there have been a question of both schools. Many schools were registered in the papers, but there were no schools previously. But now some of the crackdowns have improved that situation. Check and balances have improved. But still, a lot needs to be done when it comes to literacy rate in Pakistan, especially the tertiary level, the basic level schools. I think there's a lot needs to be invested because the children of the rural areas also deserve the same as the urban areas. And then we have the educational budgets and priorities. So we obviously know the present budget, the previous budgets, and the focus of the countries have been different. There have been different situations, political situations, and whatever, but education has been a lesser priority. And there have been slashing budgets in the higher education as well. Previously, the budget was cut. Similarly, this time, a lot of amount has been taken away from the development and education. So what's going to happen when you're not going to invest in the coming generations? Universities or colleges, especially public ones, may not be able to generate revenue of their own. Their dependency is on that because in some way it's a service to the public. These public sector universities are meant to give the relief to the people with their low fee and low. So if that's not going to happen, it's going to put an impact. So it's a challenge for Pakistan how to generate revenues in education sector at the same time not compromising it enough that it becomes so expensive that people can't afford it. So currently it's a big issue. Currently it's a big problem, and Pakistan needs to look into that. We can see figures, and we can see that the figures have improved, especially in 2019, and then a bit of decline again. So education keeps going up. But one concerning figure that really comes up is female education is almost 20 to 25% less than men. The accessibility for female students to go out to study in far-flung areas is very difficult. And if female, we can see that is 46% of female are literate. It means we are depriving the other half. What's going to happen to them? It's a serious concern for Pakistan. So progress also depends if your population or if your literacy rate is high. That's a key factor for development and developing countries. So Pakistan will definitely look into it. This is a serious issue, and this is one of the challenges Pakistan faces. And coming back to our all-time old problem for the last 20 years, I placed it at number 3 because I wanted to focus more on economy and education, because we've talked about terrorism and extremism for a lot of time. This used to be one of mine on the top of the list in the challenges for Pakistan. It still is a big problem for Pakistan. We must not say that everything has just finished away, went to vacuum. These things keep coming because they need constant working out, constant policies to shape it. In Pakistan, last 20 years, Pakistan has paid a big price, especially when it comes to terrorism, extremism, the law and order situation. It has been a very, very difficult times for Pakistan, especially the last 15 years. And it all started from 2001. It was a turning point in the history. There's a historical context to it, the Afghan War, the Soviet War, and how the grounds were used and what happened. All these we've discussed in our previous classes, but you know the historical context to it, that nothing happens in vacuum. There's a historical context to it, and it came back to haunt us very badly because we paid a heavy price in terms of infrastructure, civilian losses, armed personal losses. Pakistan paid a very big price. So it was, and what happened that Pakhtunkhwa and tribal regions were the hub of conflict, and this region played a very high price. It affected the infrastructure, the educational structures, lifestyles, and everything. So terrorism and extremism remain a challenge. It still remains a challenge. A lot needs to be done because civilians killed in conflict and the infrastructural damages and loss to economy are still the issues that need to be addressed. People who are going back to their places, it's a rebuilding time for them. So are we going to help them? Is the state going to help them? Do they have policies? Do they have opportunities? This will be a testing time for Pakistan, because this is one of the challenges, because rebuilding stage is very, very important. What happened was unfortunate, what happened was whatever, but what is coming next is a big challenge because it's a large population, especially in the FATA, the different people who are displaced from their homes. What is the government going to do to help them out, to the policy? So it's a big concern for Pakistan. It remains a big challenge, and especially de-escalation, what happened, how to handle, how to groom the youth, and how to take them, and education, and the rebuilding, the infrastructure, all these things will remain a big challenge for Pakistan in the coming days, and especially the rebuilding. And we've seen operations and different activities held that have been attempted to curb militancy and terrorism. Along with that, a lot needs to be invested in education and infrastructure in the rebuilding process. So this will be another challenge for Pakistan to what it does with the population that has been severely affected by terrorism and extremism. And then we have political instability in Pakistan. We have a history of political crisis in Pakistan, especially starting off from, we can see the frequent military dictators right from the beginning, whether it's Ayub Khan or whether it's Ziaul Haq or General Musharraf. It comes across like 3 decades of 3 decades of time. So it's a huge amount of time that has caused political instability in Pakistan. Plus weak politicians have also contributed. Democratic institutions, clash of institutions, all of these have contributed towards political instability. And the East-West Pakistan issue that we've seen, because Bangladesh was once part of Pakistan, and then we know what happened, the crisis that came. We've already talked about it, but still we know that these kind of circumstances, how it led to the separation of such huge population away from, and two parts, Pakistan was divided. So these are the political instability kept happening, and after the post 9/11 circumstances also changed and contributed. And some of the examples that we can share with you about the political instability, it's one unit in 1956. Then we have the constitution by Ayub Khan. Then we have frequent constitutional amendments by Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. Maltreatment of General Ziaul Haq under 1973 constitutions. And then we have seen that the governments hardly completed their 5-year terms in Pakistan, the Lal Masjid, the suspension of constitution in recent time, not so far ago. And then we have seen the killing of Benazir Bhutto, and also the Long March, Dharnas, and obviously the latest was Panama case. So different factors, they already they happened, some for good, some for bad, but caused political instability in Pakistan. And now coming back to the present circumstances, the COVID-19, the pandemic, what it's doing, what it's causing. Obviously, it's causing a lot of administrative and economic challenges to Pakistan. A lot of decisions, strong decisions need to be taken in the context of COVID-19. at one place when the economy is shrinking, tough decisions need to be made. Health remains a concern because a lot of money is required when people are dying and when you don't have resources. That becomes a genuine concern, and Pakistan is right now facing serious concern when it comes to health departments and health facilities, and especially with PPEs and the kits the doctors are demanding. So yes, it's a health is a genuine concern again for Pakistan. It's a big challenge for Pakistan at the moment, how it deals with it, how it keeps the people on front line motivated enough to fight in these times. It will be a serious challenge for Pakistan because at one place the economy is shrinking, and the other place we are confronted with this deadly disease, which has caused a lot of pressure on us, causing administrative and economic challenges. And then obviously the COVID-19 have also forced the entire policymakers to reconsider how education classes will be taken. Some are taking online classes, some are working on pre-recorded sessions, but obviously it's a genuine concern for everyone, especially related to academia, how to reach out to their students, how to deliver their message, because if the time is being wasted, the academia, people in academia concerned to save their time. But it remains a challenge because Pakistan lacked infrastructural value, facilities when it comes to online education, and but in a way it has given them a wake up call, and they're working on it. So for future, I think this will be a new guideline for Pakistan, and it may help Pakistan academics and academia to form alternate platforms for education. So yes, at one place there's a challenge, but on the other hand, we can take it as an opportunity as well. And then obviously it's affecting the lifestyles and everything else. So these are some of the challenges that Pakistan face, and the other challenge is environmental challenges, that pollution. It was a big challenge for Pakistan, but right now, since our priorities changed after the COVID-19, so there's less talk. But during the lockdowns, we observed that the air quality improved, and there were a lot of discussions and threads related to the cleaning of environment, the chlorofluorocarbon levels coming down, the dangerous chemicals in the air. So these were the discussions, and it also gave us a new perspective that if the lifestyle is changed, if the economy is changed, if the decisions are imposed, how can environment change, especially the work on waste management and fossil fuel and zero carbon emissions, especially the electric cars that the government plans to introduce. So environment is also a challenge, but we've heard that there are plans related to the zero carbon emissions and green technologies and sustainable measures instead of fossil fuels. So these are some of the efforts that are related to environment, and environment is another because that's where we live, and that's more important. Similarly, this government and the present government and the governments to come, there will always be a challenge related to press freedom, because press is an important part of democracy, and especially it gives strength to democratic institutions. So we've seen censorship is an issue when it comes to press freedom, media laws, and journalist safety, and all these things. But why we are talking about press freedom as a challenge? Because media is an integral part of democratic society. But we have seen that media and the governments and the power centers have been at crossroads in Pakistan. And that needs to be improved because media is a reflection of society. Media is what helps improve. Media is a critical lens. But if you take away the lens, development can't take place. So Pakistan also will have this serious challenge because it's one of the dangerous countries in the world for journalism. A lot of journalists have died, and since we have discussed it in our classes, it's a serious concern. So one of the challenges will be press freedom for Pakistan, and it will be for good because it will help you be more critical and help towards development in the future. And other challenges related to this discussion, and obviously we'll talk about it in our future classes. We have a serious issue concerning ethnic and sectarian challenges. Ethnic, obviously, is a serious concern, like Pashtun, Sindhi, Balochi, and sectarian. We all know different sects and different beliefs. So that's a challenge because tolerance level and extremism have shrinked the discussion spaces. There's less tolerance, there's less discussion. So that will be a challenge to how to promote peace and harmony in future. And similarly, the other challenges are water and energy crisis. The unemployment is the biggest issue, obviously, since the economy is shrinking. So unemployment remains a critical issue. Corruption, the scandals, and we witnessed that corruption also is a big indicator of decline of any country, and a lot needs to be done. And then the last one is clash of institutions, because institutions need to work in harmony if progress is to be made. The judiciary, the executive, the legislature, they all need their own demarcations, and sometimes we've seen historically that the boundaries are crossed, and it causes uh, a lot of issues and instability, especially in Pakistani context. But these are some of the challenges that are confronted. There are also some few other challenges, but we'll talk about in some other day. So, uh, briefly summarizing, once again coming back to our discussion, obviously economy is one of the biggest challenge that Pakistan faces at the moment. If economy is not working, nothing can work. Economy is the first most priority that Pakistan needs to work on, and definitely they'll be working on it. Similarly, there are other challenges that confronts Pakistan, especially we've talked about it. So what we've seen is that we'll carry on our discussion in our next class. Uh, so I hope that you enjoyed the session. The session was quite in depth, discussing economy, discussing literacy, obviously other issues concerning Pakistan. So we'll be in touch. Thank you very much for joining this session.